Park Tiho pushed his cleaning cart down the long metal hallway. The wheels made a soft sound against the floor. It was late at night on Station Orion 7, and most of the aliens had gone to sleep. This was his favorite time to work. No one looked at him. No one told him to move faster. He was alone with his thoughts. He had been a janitor on this space station for 3 years now. Before that, he worked in a small factory back on Earth. But when his wife died and his daughter Yuna got sick, everything changed. The doctors on Earth could not help her. They said she had a rare illness. They said there was nothing they could do. But the Galactic Union had better medicine. When Earth joined the Union 5 years ago, humans got access to alien hospitals. Tiho sold everything he owned. He took his little girl to Station Orion 7, where the best doctors worked. They saved her life. They really saved her. Now Yuna was 6 years old and healthy. She stayed in the human living area while Tiho worked his night shifts. A kind old woman named Grandma Bong watched her. Yuna was probably sleeping right now, holding her favorite stuffed rabbit. Tiho smiled thinking about her. He stopped his cart near a large window and looked outside. The stars were beautiful, millions of tiny lights in the darkness. Back home, he never saw stars like this. The city lights were too bright. But out here in space, the universe showed its true face. It was huge. It was endless. It made Tiho feel very small. A group of Velari walked past him. They were tall and beautiful, with silver-blue skin that seemed to glow. Their eyes were large and full of light, like they had swallowed pieces of stars. They wore long robes made of fabric that flowed like water. They did not look at Tiho. They never did. The Velari were the most powerful species in the galaxy. They had ruled their empire for thousands of years. To them, humans were like children who just learned to walk. Primitive, simple, not worth noticing. Tiho did not mind being invisible. He had learned long ago that being invisible kept you safe. He cleaned his floors. He emptied his trash bins. He fixed his small problems. And at the end of each shift, he went home to Yuna. That was enough for him. He reached into the small bag that hung from his belt. It was his emergency bag. Every father needs one, he believed. Inside, he kept snacks in case Yuna got hungry, bandages in case she got hurt, wet wipes for messy faces, and one small bottle of bubble solution with a little wand inside. The bubbles were Yuna's favorite thing. When she was scared or sad, Tiho would blow bubbles for her. She would chase them around the room, laughing and jumping. The bubbles always made her forget her troubles. They were magic in a way, simple magic that cost almost nothing but meant everything. Tiho put the bag back on his belt and continued pushing his cart. He had to clean the observation deck tonight. It was one of the biggest rooms on the station. During the day, important aliens stood there and talked about important things. At night, it was empty and peaceful. He cleaned for 2 hours. He mopped the floors until they shined. He wiped the windows until the stars looked even brighter. He picked up small pieces of trash that rich aliens had dropped without thinking. A food wrapper here, a decorative ribbon there. To them, the floor was just a place for things they did not want anymore. When he finished, Tiho sat down on a bench near the window. He allowed himself a short rest. His back hurt. His feet hurt. But the view made the pain feel smaller. He thought about Yuna again. Tomorrow was her day off from school. Maybe they could go to the station garden together. She loved the flowers there, especially the blue ones from some planet he could not pronounce. He was about to stand up when he heard something. A sound that did not belong here. Soft, high, like a small animal crying. Tiho stopped moving. He listened carefully. There it was again. It was coming from the East Corridor, the restricted area. Only important Velari were allowed there, certainly not human janitors. He should ignore it. He should go back to his cart and finish his route. Getting caught in a restricted area could cost him his job, and losing his job meant losing Yuna's medical care. He could not risk that. But the sound came again, and this time Tiho recognized it. It was a child, A child was crying. His body moved before his mind could stop it. He left his cart behind and walked toward the sound. His heart beat faster with each step. The corridor was dark. The lights were dim to save power at night. His footsteps echoed against the walls. The crying got louder. It was definitely a child. A scared child. T-Ho forgot about the rules. He forgot about the risk. In that moment, he was not a janitor worried about his job. He was a father who heard a child in pain. He turned a corner and stopped. There behind a tall pillar something small was hiding. At first he saw only shadows. Then the shadows moved and he saw silver-blue skin, glowing eyes filled with tears, a tiny body shaking with fear. It was a Velari child, a little girl maybe 5 or 6 years old. She wore a white dress covered with small jewels that sparkled even in the dark. Her hair was long and silver, braided with golden threads. She looked like a princess from a fairy tale. She looked up at T-Ho, and her eyes went wide with terror. She pressed herself against the pillar, trying to disappear into the stone. T-Ho raised his hand slowly, showing he meant no harm. He had seen that look before. He had seen it on Yuna's face many times after her mother died. It was the look of a child who expected the world to hurt her. He did not know who this little girl was. He did not know why she was crying alone in a dark corridor. But he knew one thing for certain. He was not going to walk away. He took a slow breath and knelt down, making himself smaller, less scary. He remembered all the times he had calmed Yuna after her nightmares. He used the same gentle voice now. "Hey there," he said softly. "Rough night, huh?" The little girl stared at him. Her tears kept falling, but her crying had stopped. She was waiting to see what he would do next, waiting to see if this strange creature would hurt her or help her. T-Ho gave her a small, tired smile. He had no idea that this moment would change his life forever. He had no idea that someone was watching from the deeper shadows, someone whose power stretched across 1,000 worlds. He just saw a scared kid, and scared kids needed help. That was enough reason for Park T-Ho. The little Velari girl did not move. She stayed pressed against the cold pillar, her small hands gripping the stone like it was the only safe thing in the universe. Her tears had made wet lines down her silver-blue cheeks. Her breathing was fast and broken. T-Ho stayed on his knees. He did not move closer. He knew that scared children needed space. They needed time. Rushing would only make things worse. "I am not going to hurt you," he said in his gentlest voice. "I promise." The girl's glowing eyes studied him. T-Ho could see her thinking. She was trying to decide if he was dangerous. He must look very strange to her, he realized. His skin was brown and dull, nothing like the beautiful silver of her people. His clothes were simple work clothes, stained from cleaning. He probably smelled like floor soap. "You are human," she finally said. Her voice was small and shaky. "Yes," T-Ho nodded. "My name is Park T-Ho. I clean the floors here." Something changed in the girl's face. The fear became mixed with confusion. "A cleaning servant?" she asked. "We call it janitor," T-Ho said. "But yes, I clean things." The girl looked at him like he was a puzzle she could not solve. In her world, servants never spoke first to royal blood. Servants kept their eyes down and their mouths closed. But this human was looking right at her, speaking to her like she was a normal person. "Why are you here?" she asked. Her voice was stronger now, but still full of tears. "This area is forbidden for your kind." "I heard someone crying," T-Ho said simply. "I came to help." "You should not be here. You will get in trouble." T-Ho shrugged. "Probably, but you looked like you needed someone." The girl's bottom lip started shaking again. Fresh tears spilled from her eyes. She looked so young, so fragile. All those jewels and golden threads could not hide the fact that she was just a scared little kid far from home. "What is your name?" T-Ho asked softly. The girl hesitated. Then she lifted her chin, trying to look strong even while crying. "I am Princess Lyra of the Velari Empire, daughter of Empress Vila, heir to the crystal throne. Tiho did not react the way she expected. He did not gasp or bow or fall to his knees in fear. He just nodded thoughtfully, like she had told him her favorite color. "That sounds like a lot of work for someone your age," he said. Lyra blinked. No one had ever said that to her before. Everyone always told her how lucky she was, how honored she should feel, how perfect she must be. No one ever admitted that being a princess was hard. "It is," she whispered. "It is so much work." And then she started crying again. Real crying this time, not the quiet, controlled tears she had been taught to hide. These were loud, messy sobs that shook her whole body. She covered her face with her hands, ashamed but unable to stop. Tiho's heart broke for her. He thought of Yuna crying after her mother's funeral. He thought of all the nights he held his daughter while she screamed that she wanted her mommy back. He knew that kind of pain. He knew how heavy it felt. "Hey, hey," he said softly. "It is okay. You are okay." "I am not okay," Lyra cried. "I am terrible. I am a disgrace." "Why do you say that?" "Because princesses do not cry. Velari do not show weakness. But I cannot stop. I tried so hard tonight and I could not stop." She told him what happened. There had been a big ceremony earlier that evening. Thousands of important Velari came to see her. They came from 100 different planets. Lyra had to stand on a stage and recite an ancient poem in the old language. She had to wear heavy ceremonial clothes that hurt her shoulders. She had to smile and wave and pretend to be perfect. But inside she was falling apart. Her father had died 2 years ago. He was the only one who understood her, the only one who made her feel safe. Since then, she had been alone. Her mother, the Empress, was always busy ruling the galaxy. Her teachers only cared about making her behave like proper royalty. No one asked how she felt. No one cared. Tonight, when all those eyes stared at her, something inside Lyra broke. She felt like she was drowning in a sea of faces. She could not breathe. She finished the ceremony somehow, then ran away the first chance she got. Her attendants were probably searching everywhere for her. They would be angry when they found her. "They will think I am weak," Lyra said. "They will tell my mother I am not ready to be a princess." Tiho listened to everything. He did not interrupt. He did not judge. When she finished, he spoke carefully. "Can I tell you something, Lyra?" The girl looked up, surprised that he used her name without her title. "What?" "Crying does not mean you are weak. It means you are strong enough to feel things. Only very strong people can face their feelings. Weak people run away from them." Lyra shook her head. "That is not what my teachers say. They say emotions are dangerous. They say I must control them." "Controlling emotions is fine," Tiho said, "but pretending you do not have them, that is different. That just makes them grow bigger in the dark, until one day they explode." Lyra stared at him. This human was so strange. He spoke like he knew things her teachers did not. He spoke like he had felt real pain before. "How do you know this?" she asked. Tiho was quiet for a moment. "I have a daughter. Her name is Yuna. She is about your age. Her mother, my wife, died 3 years ago." Lyra's eyes went wide. "Your mate died." "Yes, it was very hard. Yuna cried every night for a long time. I cried too. We were so sad we thought we would never feel happy again." "What did you do?" "We let ourselves feel it. We did not pretend to be okay when we were not okay. And slowly, day by day, the sadness became lighter. It never went away completely, but we learned to carry it." Lyra's tears had slowed while she listened. She was looking at Tiho differently now, not as a lowly human servant, but as someone who understood pain, someone who might understand her. "I miss my father," she whispered. "I miss him so much." "I know," Tiho said. "It is okay to miss him. It means you loved him." Something in the darkness made a small sound. Tiho's ears caught it, but he did not turn around. He stayed focused on the little princess in front of him. She needed his attention more than anything else right now. Lyra's breathing was still shaky, but she was calmer than before. Just talking had helped. Just having someone listen without judging had made a difference. "My attendants will find me soon," she said quietly. "They will be disappointed." "Do you want to go back to them?" "No, but I have no choice. A princess must always do her duty." Ti-Ho looked at this small girl, carrying the weight of an entire empire on her tiny shoulders. It was not fair. Children should play and laugh and make mistakes. They should not have to be perfect all the time. He reached down to his belt and touched his emergency bag. An idea formed in his mind. A silly idea, a dangerous idea, but also, maybe, the right idea. "Before you go back," he said, "can I show you something?" Lyra tilted her head. "Show me what?" "Something my daughter loves. Something that always makes her feel better when she is sad." Lyra hesitated. She had been taught never to trust strangers, but this human did not feel like a stranger anymore. He felt like the first real person she had met in a very long time. "Okay," she said quietly, "show me." Ti-Ho smiled and reached into his bag. He had no idea that what he did next would change the fate of two civilizations. He had no idea that ancient eyes were watching from the shadows, studying his every move. He just wanted to make a sad kid smile. That was all Park Ti-Ho ever wanted to do. Ti-Ho pulled the small bottle from his bag. It was old and worn, the label almost completely faded. He had bought it from a cheap store on Earth before leaving forever. It cost less than a cup of coffee, but to him and Yuna, it was worth more than gold. Lyra watched with curious eyes. "What is that?" she asked. "This," Ti-Ho said, holding up the bottle, "is magic." The little princess frowned. "Magic is not real. My tutors taught me that what some species call magic is just science they do not understand yet." Ti-Ho smiled. "Your tutors are very smart, but some things feel like magic even when we understand them. This is one of those things." He opened the bottle and pulled out the small wand inside. It was just a plastic stick with a circle at the end. Nothing special to look at. But Lyra watched like he was holding an ancient weapon. Ti-Ho dipped the wand into the soapy water. He lifted it to his lips, and then he blew softly. A stream of bubbles floated into the air. They caught the dim light from the corridor and turned into tiny spheres of rainbow color. They drifted upward, spinning slowly, peaceful and beautiful. Lyra stopped breathing. She had never seen anything like this. In all her years of education, in all the libraries of the Velari Empire, there was nothing about these floating spheres of light. They looked like someone had captured pieces of stars and set them free. They looked like dreams that had learned to fly. What are they?" she whispered. "Bubbles," Ti-Ho said. "Human children play with them all the time." Lyra reached out with one small hand. Her fingers touched a bubble and it popped with a tiny sound. She gasped and pulled her hand back. "I broke it," she said, her voice full of worry. "I am sorry." Ti-Ho laughed softly. "That is what they do, they pop, but watch, we can make more." He blew again. More bubbles filled the air. They floated around Lyra's head like a crown of floating jewels. She turned in a circle, watching them dance. Her tears were drying on her cheeks, forgotten. "They are so beautiful," she breathed. "They are like little worlds." "Yuna says the same thing," Ti-Ho said. "She thinks each bubble is a tiny universe." Lyra reached out again, more gently this time. A bubble landed on her fingertip and sat there for a moment before popping. She laughed. It was a small laugh, surprised and delighted. The sound echoed through the corridor like music. "How do they work?" she asked. "What creates them?" "Soap and water," Ti-Ho explained. "When you blow air into soapy water, it makes a thin film that stretches into a sphere. The colors come from light bouncing around inside the film." "That is so simple," Lyra said. "Something so beautiful from just soap and water and air." "The best things often are simple," Ti-Ho said. "Would you like to try?" Lyra's eyes went wide. "I can make them too." Ti-Ho held out the wand. Of course, it takes a little practice, but you will learn fast. The princess took the wand carefully, like it was made of precious crystal. She dipped it in the bottle the way Ti-Ho showed her. Then she put it to her lips and blew. Nothing happened. The soapy film just wobbled and fell off. I cannot do it, Lyra said, her face falling. I failed. No, no, Ti-Ho said gently. You blew too hard, try again but softer this time, like you are whispering to the wind. Lyra tried again, softer, gentler. This time 3 small bubbles floated free. They were tiny and wobbly, but they were real bubbles. She made them herself. I did it, she cried, her whole face transformed with joy. I really did it. See, I told you, you are a fast learner. Lyra blew again and again. Soon, bubbles were floating everywhere. They bounced off the walls and the ceiling. They drifted down the corridor like a parade of tiny moons. The princess spun around, trying to catch them, laughing every time they popped on her fingers. Ti-Ho sat back and watched. His heart felt warm. This was why he always carried the bubbles. This moment right here. The moment when sadness turned to wonder. The moment when a crying child remembered how to smile. For 20 minutes they played together in the dark corridor. A human janitor and an alien princess, blowing bubbles under the light of distant stars. They did not talk about empires or duties or death. They just played, like children should. Finally, Lyra ran out of breath. She sat down on the floor next to Ti-Ho, still holding the wand. Her cheeks were flushed with a soft purple color, which Ti-Ho guessed meant she was happy. I have never played before, she said quietly. Not like this. Never? Ti-Ho asked, surprised. Princesses do not play. We have lessons. We have training. We have ceremonies. But play is for common children. Ti-Ho shook his head. That is wrong. All children need to play. It is how they learn to be happy. Lyra looked at the wand in her hands. My father used to tell me stories. At night, when everyone else was gone, he would sit by my bed and tell me about the old days before the empire was so big. He said people were happier then, more simple. He sounds like a wise man. He was. Lyra's voice became small. I miss his stories. I miss him sitting next to me. After he died, no one sits with me anymore. Everyone is too important, too busy. Ti-Ho understood that pain all too well. He remembered Yuna asking where Mommy was. He remembered trying to explain death to a child who was too young to understand. Can I tell you something? He said. Lyra nodded. The people we lose, they never really leave us. They live on in our memories. Every time you remember your father's stories, he is with you again. Every time you feel happy doing something he loved, he is right there beside you. Lyra's eyes filled with tears again, but these were different tears. Softer, less painful. Do you still remember your wife? She asked. Every day, Ti-Ho said. I see her in Yuna's smile. I feel her in the quiet moments at night. She is gone, but she is also still here. Does that make sense? Lyra nodded slowly. I think it does. They sat in silence for a moment. The last bubbles popped one by one, leaving only the peace of the night. Somewhere in the distance, footsteps echoed. Lyra's attendants were getting closer. Why did you help me? Lyra asked suddenly. You do not know me. I am not even your species. Why did you risk your job to comfort a stranger? Ti-Ho thought about the question. He could give many answers, but only one was true. Because I have a daughter, he said. When Yuna is scared, I just want her to feel safe. I want someone to hold her and tell her everything will be okay. When I saw you crying, I saw a little girl who needed the same thing. It did not matter that you are a princess. It did not matter that you are Velari. You were just a child who needed help. Lyra stared at him for a long moment. Then she did something that would have shocked every noble in the empire. She leaned forward and hugged him. Ti-Ho froze. Touching a royal was forbidden. This could mean death, but the little girl was holding onto him like he was the only real thing in the world. So he hugged her back. Thank you, Lyra whispered into his shoulder. No one has ever just been kind to me, not without wanting something. You are the first. Tiho patted her back gently. That is a sad thing, he said. Kindness should not be rare, it should be everywhere. In your world maybe, Lyra said, not in mine. A cold voice cut through the darkness. Indeed, kindness is not valued in our empire, perhaps it should be. Tiho's blood turned to ice. He looked up and saw a tall figure stepping out of the shadows. She was the most beautiful and terrifying being he had ever seen. Her silver-blue skin glowed like moonlight. Her eyes burned with ancient power. Her robes flowed around her like living darkness. Empress Vila, ruler of 1,000 worlds, had been watching the whole time. And now she was looking directly at him. Tiho could not move. His body felt frozen, like time itself had stopped. The Empress stood before him, tall and powerful and ancient. Her presence filled the corridor like a heavy weight pressing down on his chest. He had heard stories about Empress Vila. Everyone on the station had. She had ruled the Velari Empire for 200 years. She had won wars against civilizations that existed before humans learned to make fire. She had crushed rebellions with a wave of her hand. She was not just a ruler, she was a force of nature. And he had just hugged her daughter, without permission, as a human, as a janitor. Lyra pulled away from Tiho and ran to her mother. But instead of hiding behind the Empress, she stood in front of Tiho, her small arms spread wide. "Mother, please," she said. "He did not hurt me, he helped me." The Empress looked down at her daughter. Her face was like stone, completely unreadable. "I know," she said. "I saw everything." Tiho's heart dropped. She saw everything. That meant she saw him talk to Lyra without permission. She saw him give her the bubbles. She saw him hug her. Each of these actions was probably punishable by death under Velari law. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice shaking. He quickly got on his knees and bowed his head. "I meant no disrespect. I only wanted to help. I will accept whatever punishment you decide." The corridor was silent. Tiho could hear his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. He thought about Yuna. What would happen to her if he died here? Who would take care of her? Would anyone even tell her what happened to her father? "Stand up," the Empress said. Tiho slowly rose to his feet. He kept his eyes down, afraid to look at her directly. "Look at me." He lifted his gaze. The Empress was studying him like a scientist studying a strange bug. Her eyes were cold and calculating, seeing through him like he was made of glass. "You know who I am," she said. It was not a question. "Yes, Your Majesty." "And you know the penalty for touching a member of the royal family without permission." Tiho swallowed hard. "Yes, Your Majesty." "Then why did you do it?" The question hung in the air. Tiho could lie. He could beg. He could make up 100 excuses. But something told him that this ancient being would see through any lie. So he told the truth. "Because she needed it," he said simply. "She was hurting. She was alone. In that moment she was not a princess. She was just a kid who needed someone to care." The Empress did not respond. Her face remained perfectly still, but something flickered in her eyes, something Tiho could not read. "Mother," Lyra said, tugging at the Empress's robe, "he made stars I could hold, little floating stars that popped when I touched them, and he was not scared of me at all. He talked to me like I was normal, like I was a regular person." The Empress looked at the bubble wand still clutched in Lyra's hand. "Stars you could hold." He called them bubbles. They were beautiful, Mother, so beautiful. The Empress turned her gaze back to Tiho. "Explain." Tiho pulled the bottle from his bag and held it up. "It is a human toy, Your Majesty. Very simple. Soap, water, and air. Children on Earth play with them to feel happy. And you carry this with you always." "Yes, for my daughter. She gets scared sometimes. The bubbles help her forget her fear." The Empress walked closer. Tiho had to force himself not to step back. She was so tall that she towered over him like a statue. She reached out and took the bottle from his hand. Her fingers were long and elegant, like they had never worked a day in their existence. She looked at the bottle for a long moment. Then she spoke, and her voice was different now, softer, almost sad. "My husband died 2 years ago." Tiho did not know what to say. He stayed silent and listened. "Since then I have hired the best teachers, the wisest counselors, the most experienced caretakers in the galaxy to help my daughter. They have tried everything to reach her. Nothing worked. She grew more distant every day, more sad, more broken." The Empress looked at Lyra, and for a brief moment her stone face cracked. Tiho saw a mother who loved her child, a mother who had watched helplessly as her daughter slipped away. "Tonight I was searching for her," the Empress continued. "Her attendants lost her again. I was angry, worried, afraid." She paused. "And then I found her here, with you, playing with your simple toy, laughing like I have not heard her laugh since her father died." Tiho remained silent. He did not know where this was going. "A human janitor," the Empress said, almost to herself. "A primitive species that joined the Galactic Union 5 years ago. No advanced technology, no ancient wisdom, no special powers. And yet you did something that the greatest minds in my empire could not do. You made my daughter smile." She held up the bubble bottle. "With this." "It is not about the bubbles, Your Majesty," Tiho said carefully. "Not really." "Then what is it about?" Tiho thought of Yuna. He thought of all the nights he held her while she cried. He thought of all the times he put aside his own pain to make sure she felt loved. "It is about being present," he said. "Really present. Not thinking about duty or image or what we are supposed to do. Just being there fully for someone who is hurting, listening without judging, caring without expecting anything back. Kids know when someone genuinely cares about them. They can feel it." The Empress was quiet for a long time. The silence stretched on until Tiho was sure he had said something wrong. Then she spoke. "In 200 years no one has spoken to me with such honesty. Everyone lies, everyone flatters, everyone is afraid." She tilted her head. "You are afraid too, I can see it, but you still spoke truth. Why?" Tiho shrugged weakly. "Lying would not help anything, and I think you needed to hear the truth, like Lyra needed someone to listen." The Empress stared at him. Then something happened that had not happened in centuries. The corners of her mouth lifted, just a tiny bit, almost invisible, but it was there. A smile. "You are either very brave or very foolish," she said. "Maybe both, Your Majesty." The Empress handed the bubble bottle back to him. Then she did something that shocked Tiho more than anything else that night. She bowed her head, just slightly, just for a second, but she bowed. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Thank you for helping my daughter when I could not." Before Tiho could respond, the Empress straightened and put her stone mask back on. She placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder. "It is late, you need sleep." Lyra looked at Tiho. "Will I see him again, Mother? Will he come back?" The Empress studied the human janitor one more time. Then she spoke words that would echo through the halls of history. "Yes, he will come back tomorrow, officially." She looked at Tiho. "You will come to my private chambers at noon. You will explain these bubbles to me. You will tell me more about how humans raise their children. And you will bring your daughter." Tiho blinked. My daughter." "Lyra needs a friend her own age, someone who is not afraid of her title, someone who can teach her to play." The Empress paused. "Can you do this?" Tiho thought about Yuna. She would probably be terrified, but she would also love it. She always wanted to make friends. "Yes, Your Majesty," he said. "We will be there." The Empress nodded once. Then she turned and walked away, leading Lyra by the hand. Just before they disappeared around the corner, Lyra looked back and waved. Tiho waved back. He stood alone in the dark corridor for a long time after they left. His hands were still shaking. His heart was still racing. But somehow, against all odds, he was alive. More than alive. He had just been invited to the private chambers of the most powerful being in the galaxy. All because he blew some bubbles for a crying kid. T-Ho laughed quietly to himself. Then he went to find his cleaning cart. His shift was not over yet, and someone still had to mop the floors. That was what janitors did, after all. The news spread across Station Orion 7 like wildfire. A human janitor had been personally summoned by Empress Vila, not to be punished, not to be questioned, but to visit her private chambers as a guest. The diplomats panicked. The Velari nobles whispered in confused voices. The humans on the station did not know whether to celebrate or hide, and T-Ho just wanted to make sure his work uniform was clean for tomorrow. Yuna was full of questions that morning. Papa, why are we going to see the princess? Is she nice? Will she like me? What if I say something wrong? What if I break something? T-Ho knelt down and held his daughter's hands. Just be yourself, little one. The princess is a child like you. She is lonely and sad and she needs a friend. Can you be her friend? Yuna thought about it seriously. She was only 6, but she had an old soul. 3 years of hospitals and grief had made her wise beyond her age. I can try, she said finally. Being sad is very hard. Maybe I can help her be less sad. T-Ho smiled and kissed her forehead. That is all I ask. They walked through the station together, drawing stares from every species they passed. A tall Velari guard met them at the entrance to the royal section. For a moment, T-Ho was afraid they would be turned away. But the guard simply bowed and said, "The Empress is expecting you. Please follow me." The royal chambers were more beautiful than anything T-Ho had ever seen. The walls were made of crystal that shifted colors like living rainbows. The floors were smooth white stone that felt warm under their feet. Strange flowers grew in floating gardens, filling the air with sweet smells. Yuna's eyes went wide. Papa, it is like a fairy palace. Stay close to me, T-Ho said, holding her hand tighter. They were led to a large room with tall windows that looked out at the stars. Empress Vila stood by one of the windows, her back to them. Lyra was sitting on a cushion nearby, wearing a simple blue dress instead of her jeweled royal clothes. She looked almost like a normal child today. When Lyra saw Yuna, she jumped to her feet. Her eyes locked onto the human girl with intense curiosity. You must be Yuna, Lyra said. Her voice was formal but friendly. Your father told me about you. Yuna hid halfway behind T-Ho's leg. Hello, she said shyly. You are very pretty, you look like the moon. Lyra blinked. Then she smiled, a real genuine smile. Thank you, you look like a small brown berry, the kind that grows on Praxis 7. They are very sweet. Is that good? Yuna asked. Very good, they are my favorite. The two girls stared at each other for a moment. Then Lyra spoke again. Do you want to see my room? I have toys, but I do not really know how to play with them. Maybe you can teach me. Yuna looked up at her father. T-Ho nodded encouragingly. Slowly, Yuna let go of his hand and walked toward Lyra. Okay, she said, I can teach you, it is easy. The two children left together, their small voices echoing down the hall. T-Ho watched them go, his heart filled with a strange mix of fear and hope. She is a beautiful child. T-Ho turned. The Empress had moved silently and was now standing just a few steps away. He quickly bowed. Thank you, Your Majesty. Please, enough with the bowing. The Empress gestured to a pair of chairs near the window. Sit with me, we have much to discuss. They sat facing each other. Through the window, T-Ho could see a dozen ships moving slowly against the backdrop of stars. An entire galaxy going about its business, unaware that a human janitor was having tea with the supreme ruler of its largest empire. Tell me about humans, the Empress said. Tell me how you raise your children. Tell me why a simple toy made my daughter laugh when all the wisdom of my empire could not. T-Ho thought carefully before speaking. We are not a complicated species, Your Majesty. We have not existed very long. We make many mistakes, but we have learned one thing well. And what is that? That children need love more than lessons. They need play more than perfection. They need to feel safe being themselves, even when themselves is messy and loud and imperfect. The Empress listened without interrupting. On Earth, parents make up silly games with their children, Tiho continued. We sing songs that do not make sense. We make faces and funny noises. We do things that have no purpose except to make our kids smile. It is not efficient. It is not dignified, but it works. It makes them feel loved. And the bubbles? Tiho smiled. The bubbles are just a tool, a way to create a moment of wonder. When Yuna watches the bubbles float, she forgets her worries. She remembers that the world can be beautiful. That is the real magic, not the soap or the water, but the moment of peace. The Empress was silent for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was heavy with old pain. We Velari have lived too long. We have grown so careful, so controlled, that we have forgotten what it means to be young. Our children are treated like small adults. They are trained to rule, to calculate, to suppress. We teach them that emotions are weaknesses to be conquered. She looked out at the stars. My husband understood this was wrong. He tried to change things, but the old traditions were too strong. When he died, I threw myself into ruling. I told myself it was for the empire, but really I was running from my own grief. I was doing exactly what I taught Lyra to do, hiding from my feelings instead of facing them. Tiho did not know what to say. He had never imagined that the most powerful being in the galaxy could feel so lost. Your Majesty, he said softly, it is not too late. Lyra is still young. There is still time to give her a different life. The Empress turned to look at him. And how would I do that? I do not know how to play. I do not know how to be normal. Start small, Tiho said. Sit with her at night and tell her stories like her father did. Ask her about her day, not her lessons. Let her make mistakes without punishment. And when she is sad, do not teach her to hide it. Just hold her and tell her it is okay to cry. He reached into his bag and pulled out a new bottle of bubble solution. He had bought it that morning from a human trader on the station. And maybe, he said, offering her the bottle, try blowing some bubbles. The Empress looked at the bottle like it was the most mysterious object in the universe. Slowly, she took it from his hand. Months passed. Tiho was no longer a janitor. The Empress had created a new position just for him, cultural companion to the princess. His job was to teach Velari children about human concepts like play, laughter, and small joys. It sounded silly. It felt impossible. But slowly, things began to change. Yuna and Lyra became inseparable. They played together every day, inventing games that mixed human and Velari ideas. Other noble children began to join them, curious about this new way of being. Word spread through the Empire that something strange was happening on Station Orion 7. Something wonderful. One evening, Tiho stood on a balcony overlooking the royal garden. Below him, a dozen Velari children were running and laughing, chasing bubbles that floated through the alien flowers. Their silver skin glowed in the light of 3 moons. Their joyful screams echoed off the ancient walls. Empress Vila stepped onto the balcony beside him. She was holding a small bubble wand. "Do you know what my advisors say?" she asked quietly. "They say humans are dangerous. They say you are changing our culture, corrupting our traditions." Tiho felt a stab of fear. "And what do you say, Your Majesty?" The Empress lifted the wand and blew a single perfect bubble. It floated up into the night sky, catching the moonlight like a tiny crystal ball. "I say we had grown so old that we forgot how to live. I say my daughter smiles now in ways she never did before. I say that sound, the sound of children laughing in my garden, is the most beautiful music I have heard in 200 years." She looked at Tiho with something that might have been gratitude, or maybe friendship. Humans are not dangerous because you have weapons or technology, she said. You are dangerous because you carry something we had lost. The stubborn belief that every frightened child, no matter how powerful, deserves a moment of magic, that kindness matters, that small things can change everything. Down below, Lyra and Una ran past, holding hands, their laughter mixing together like a new kind of song. One child silver, one child brown, both of them glowing with happiness. T-Ho smiled. He had come to this station as a desperate father trying to save his sick daughter. He had stayed as an invisible worker, mopping floors in the shadows. And now, somehow, he had become something else entirely. A bridge between worlds, a teacher of forgotten joys. All because he carried a bottle of soap and never forgot how to care for crying children. The Empress raised her wand again and blew more bubbles into the starlit sky. Somewhere far away, the future of two civilizations was being rewritten by floating spheres of soap and water. And Park T-Ho, former janitor, single father, accidental diplomat, watched it all with a quiet smile. This, he thought, was what humans did best, not conquering, not inventing, but loving, stubbornly, foolishly, powerfully loving. And sometimes, that was enough to change the universe.